We'll call to order the meeting of the Haverford Township Zoning Hearing Board of Thursday, April 7th, 2022. Present at the front table to my far left is Jessica Vitale, a voting member.
Good evening.
Next to Jessica is Ed McGargy, a voting member.
Hello.
To my left, our esteemed solicitor, Bill Malone. To my right, Bill Rhodes, a voting member.
Good evening.
Next to Bill is Jesse Poynton, voting member.
Good evening.
Over at the other table, we have Kelly Kirk. Any title tonight, Kelly? What's it say? The zoning boss. And Margie Buchanan. We have 3 new cases tonight. Before we begin, Bill, would you please lead us in the pledge?
Sure, please rise if you're able and repeat after me. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Our first case is Z2203, Brian and Tasha Deemer, owners of 635 Lorraine Street, Ardmore, PA, DC folio number 2206 0133700, to seek a variance from the provisions of section 182-206C5A and 182-206C6A to add a 203.5 square foot second floor to an existing non-conforming enclosed porch that encroaches into the required 30-foot front yard setback by 14 feet and the required 8-foot minimum side yard setback by 1 foot. Property is zone R4 and located in the 6th ward. Brian and Tasha?
I have some additional handouts here.
Certainly is.
What it would look like.
All right, we'll go through that. You're going to have to mark it as an exhibit. You have a copy for yourself, right?
We can share.
There's
Keep
an
one.
extra
Okay.
Keep one for yourself.
I have one. I do.
Okay. Okay.
All right. So. Look. You don't have this plan? All right, you want to take care of it? Want to go there to do it?
1, 2, and 3.
Second, Brian.
Sure. Okay. 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 Okay.
Identify him. You want to identify him for the record, or should I have him do it? All right. So please raise your right hand, Brian. You're Brian, right?
Yep.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
And your full name and address for the record, please?
Brian Deemer, 635 Lorraine Street in Ardmore.
All right, Brian. So our solicitor was kind enough to have your exhibits pre-marked for you, but I need you to identify them by the marking and then just give a very brief description of what they depict. So you have 3 exhibits, correct?
Sure, yes.
So tell me, what is A1?
A1 is the architectural plans of what the finished product would look like.
Okay.
A2 is a picture of our current house as it is right now. And A3 is the drawing here, which is the plot survey or something, or whatever you call that.
Plot plan?
Yes.
Okay. Please tell us a little bit about what you would like to do. And
We want to add a second story onto our enclosed porch because I now work from home and I need an office. And also, it would, right now, the the existing porch that we have is not, like, very weatherproof at all, so it's whatever temperature it is outside is what it is on the sun porch, and so in the winter, it lets a tremendous amount of cold air into our house. It's just freezing all the time, so doing some insulation on the lower portion will help a lot.
All right, and who lives in the house,
My wife and I and our 2 children,
and how old are your children?
13 and 15.
How many bedrooms?
It's a 3-bedroom.
Questions, Jessica?
Looks like you have a addition to the rear of the house, so my first question would be why you can't build to the back instead of the front.
Well, the addition is where the kitchen is, and it's a vaulted ceiling, so if we built up, we'd have to lower the vault, I think, and then, which we're hoping not to do.
Okay. I don't have any other questions right now.
Ed?
And so you, basically your porch is you just have storm windows on an existing porch. You don't really have living space in that,
Correct.
which is what we normally do when someone wants to put a porch on for some hardship reason. We don't want to have enclosures. We don't want to increase the living space in areas that are not within zoning code. So I don't know. The only thing that I'm hearing so far is that you want to do this. Is there any reason why you have to do this?
Well, I don't really have anywhere else in my house to put a home office. Right now, I'm in the corner of the living room, and when the kids come home from school or the mailman comes and the dog goes crazy, it's really not very professional.
But what is the downstairs going to be when is that going to be your office? And why do you have a?
No, the upstairs would be the office, and the downstairs would remain like a sun porch where we can,
But you're going to insulate it and you're going to make it into a 4-season room?
Well, we'd like it to be a 4-season room, but we're keeping all of the windows the same so that there's, like, it visually looks the same from the outside and allows the same amount of light through. And right now, half the windows that are in there don't open because they're all old and jammed, and so we don't really get a lot of airflow even in the spring and summer when we can open the windows. So it'd be a great improvement to the whole thing.
And have you looked at other houses in the neighborhood? Does anyone else have this type of second floor addition above the porch?
Well, there's the block below us. They have all of the houses. There's a bunch of semis in a row, and they all have like a full second story over the little porch area in the front. I think it's two buildings, so it's 4 houses total. I think John has a picture. Yeah, we only have 1 copy here, but you can see that I guess it's 3 buildings.
Do you need that back, John?
Yeah, do you want me to just
Can we
hand
mark
it?
it and put it in the record? So- Yeah, I don't want to mark all those if needed, John, so if you guys want to put them in, we can go through. So this is A4. Which one of these is your house? There's 3 houses.
We're not on that. That's the
Oh, they're
block
comparables.
down the street from us,
How far away are these from you?
just half a block.
And is this architecturally consistent with what you were asking to do, or?
I mean, it's close. It's not exactly the same, but it's just showing that only half a block away they have a second story up to the front of the yard like that.
So A4, for the record, is a photo with 3 homes about a block away from the subject property that illustrates second floor addition over the sunroom.
Do we know what street that's on?
That's on Ardmore. I mean, Lorraine Street, sorry.
I have no other questions, Mr. Chairman.
I have a question about that photo. Would you say that those houses are the same distance from the street as yours, or are they further back from the road?
I think they're actually closer to the street than ours is.
Bill?
So currently, the water that runs off your porch roof, where does that go?
It goes-
Stormwater.
Yeah, there's a pipe in the ground that goes into the sewer that the spouting runs into.
It goes into a storm sewer or sanitary?
I don't know for sure. I suspect that it goes into the sanitary sewer system.
Would you separate that out as part of this project? Shouldn't go into the sanitary.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know for sure because I just know there's a pipe there. I don't know.
Yeah, okay.
Legitimately, I don't know.
If it turned out that was tied into the sanitary line and we were willing to approve this, would you be okay if it was conditioned on you separating that line and having it not go into the sanitary system?
I assume that would require digging up the whole front yard and connecting into the.
It might not, but it might. But
Be in violation anyway.
yeah, I mean,
I mean, if that's a condition, I guess so.
okay. Obviously, you're right in front of the school. How's the parking on your side of this? Do you park on your side of the street?
No, we park in the driveway. We have a driveway, so we always park there.
And you work at home. Do you have people that come to your house, like, for work?
No.
So where would you expect your contractors to park during the construction of the project?
It's a good question. I mean, they can park in the driveway if anytime we have contractors, we always let them park in the driveway. It's never a problem.
Okay. And have you thought about where construction materials would be laid down during the construction project?
I don't. I mean, our driveway is very long, and we had 2 cars, and it can easily fit like 4 or 5 cars if they're close together. So there's room up. We have a garage at the far end of the driveway that they could put stuff in front of the garage or whatever if they needed to.
And so they could put it in the garage too?
They could put it in the garage too, yeah.
And that would be okay if that
Yep.
was the condition?
Absolutely.
What was the year of your construction? The original house?
1920.
And the porch was original then?
I think so, yeah. The stone all matches, so I think so.
Do you know when it was enclosed?
That I have no idea.
Do you think it was enclosed originally, or do you think it was not?
I think it might be because there's one side has some really, really old windows. Like two of the sides have replacement like storm windows, but the one side is still the originals, and they look like they might be 100 years old. Yeah.
The reason I ask is on page A2 or exhibit A2, it looks like the stonework underneath the windows doesn't match the original stone of the house, so it was suggested that it was added at a later date, but it could have just been rebuilt at a later date. And typically, the original porches probably weren't enclosed, so I was just wondering if you knew when.
Yeah, I didn't get that information. I didn't have that when we bought the house.
Okay, I don't think I have any other questions. Thank you.
Jesse?
Let's see. My colleagues have asked most of the questions I was hoping to ask. Have you considered in the rear of the property, between the one-story portion that you testified as the kitchen, and between that and the rear setback, have you considered adding on to the back of the house there, where it would be by right?
I didn't consider it because I just didn't think that we would be allowed to do that because we have too much, not enough land left. Because the yard is not very big in the back.
Okay, are you referring to the building coverage?
Yeah, yeah.
So per A3, it looks like you're at 28.18%, so you would be allowed to add another 1.82%. So I don't know if.
Well, and they're over their impervious, so it would be a variance.
But that would be, yeah, okay, right. Good point. Back to the question of, is it fair to say that there are several similar houses to yours on your side of the street?
Yes. The house on either side of us is a Dutch colonial.
And in the neighborhood in general, are there a lot of other houses that are similar to yours?
There are quite a few Dutch colonials, yeah.
And besides the ones in photo A4, which I would argue that these were built, these second floors were original to the house since they're all the same. Have you ever seen another second floor addition over a porch?
Not in my neighborhood. I did see one in Wayne recently that was a Dutch colonial that had a second, but that's the only one I've seen.
Something we have to weigh is, does this alter the character of the neighborhood?
Right. Well, that's why in A1, you can see like we went with a more expensive design that includes some Tudor elements, which matches a lot of the other houses in the neighborhood, because we didn't want it to stand out. And quite frankly, how it looks from the street is very important to me, because I don't want my house to be ugly, so.
Well, that's certainly appreciated, and we'll take that into account, of course. I don't have any other questions.
Well, one question, Brian. Will you remove one of the existing windows to convert it into a doorway to access the space? Is
Yeah,
that-
that's
and
what-
Otherwise, you're going to leave the wall, the exterior wall where it is?
Correct.
So that it's really a separate room that's 9 feet deep by the existing
Correct.
width of the house?
Yeah, we're not expanding the interior room at all, because we wanted it to be a separate room, yeah.
Oh, can I follow up on that? Are you then going to end up losing a usable room in the house for the office, or is it going to be an expansion of a current bedroom?
It's gonna be off of the bedroom, yeah. So you have to go through the bedroom to get to the office, yeah.
Did you speak to your neighbors, Brian, about this?
I haven't, no.
The notices did go out, Lake Hill.
I'm sorry, what that, the
The
notices?
notices?
Yeah, I have certified receipts and everything.
And no one approached you about this?
I've
Yeah.
not heard anything from anybody about this. Marge?
Yeah, I mean, some of our neighbors are here right now, so,
No, we'll get some.
okay.
I don't have any additional questions, but we're going to listen to anything your neighbors have to say now. So you can have a seat. Bud. So is there anyone present that received regular or certified mail that wants to testify? Please raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth so help you God?
Yes,
And your full name and address for the record, please?
is Elizabeth Sukata. T as in Tom, S as in Sam, UKA, D as in dog A. We are
Where do you live?
we live on 2551 Rosemont, which is catty corner to the property, to the Deemer's property.
What would you like to tell us, Elizabeth?
Well, I've known the Deemers for a while, and I have to say that whenever they do any sort of remodeling project, it's very impressive. Lots of thought went into it. The kitchen that they mentioned is beautiful. In fact, I envy it very much and would love to have it in my house. And I think that this would be a great addition to the neighborhood, just even what they're talking about with the architectural elements. I look forward to seeing it.
Okay. Any questions for Elizabeth? Jessica?
No.
Ed?
No questions.
Bill? No. Jesse?
No, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Elizabeth. Anyone else receive certified, regular mail? Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
And your full name and address for the record, please?
Robert Liberato, Liberato,
And what's your address, Robert?
631 Lorraine Street.
What would you like to tell us?
I'm right next door to the Devers house, and where I live has been part of my house. I was born in that house and raised in that house, so it's been part of my house for a whole life. So those three houses, my house is in the middle. There's on one side, and then there's the corner house. They were built in 1920 by, I'm not sure the person's name, but he lived in the corner house, sold the other two houses. You can see the difference in the stonework. The corner house, it has the joints are all much better. Our houses, more or less, the joints are all kind of plastered on, but the porches were, I'm not sure originally, but I'm pretty sure they originally, the type with the wooden windows that used to have the clamps on that used to open up, swing in, you had screens on the outside. And people over the years have changed myself with our mother's house. We took out the old windows, put in like 4 picture windows and stuccoed the addition to match the stucco on the top of the house. We didn't heat it. The one on the corner is heated. They did, I'm not sure if when Jill Serpak was in there, they did a lot of work on the porch, put new windows in, and installed a heater, baseboard heater on it, so it can be heated. It can be done from the basement. You run it's all hot water heat, and you can run up. Now, the thing I don't know is if there's a footing under those slabs that the porches are on.
Well, that's up to their construction people, but how do you feel about the addition?
To me, I think it would be a detriment to the neighborhood. It's going to stick out farther than all the other houses, even going up the whole street. That variance has been in effect for a long time. And little by little, the township, I see things changing, like what they did with the school. And they jammed that down our throat. And you talk about the parking, you can't drive down the street now without pulling over. It's like one car wide. We had to fight to keep the parking off from in front of the school, which is a lot of good it does because people are always going to stop and they got a sign there that nobody pays attention to. The kids in the street, when they come out of the school, it's for recess, they bring them out the front of the school, and the sidewalk is right on the street. And I've sat out there and I've watched people drive down the street and they're looking at their cell phones and stuff. It's an accident waiting to happen, but that's beside the point. It has nothing to do with this. But it adds to it, if you understand what I mean. It's going to, like I said, I'm sure they're going to they have an architect and all, I'm sure it's designed right, but my concerns are, like what he's saying is about the windows being hard, being open. If you're going to construct something on top of it, you have to have a good foundation on the bottom.
Assuming that the construction people build a solid foundation and build it.
Well, they're talking about putting it right on top of what the porch is existing, right? So that's going to be your bearing, right? What's bearing the second floor.
Right, but assuming that if it's permitted to be built, it will be built to code.
Oh, I understand.
What issues do you have? You said that it
Well,
will change the character of the neighborhood.
all right, now you mentioned the building materials. That's going to take some long lumber to go into that construction. You're talking a span of, what, 20 feet by 8 feet, 9 feet?
But that's really their problem, right? So-
Well, if you're talking about this storing material in that area,
Oh, yeah.
it could be a problem. I mean, and you do have parking problems now, and it's like getting out of our driveway is an adventure sometimes. But I guess that's about all I can say.
Any questions for Robert? Jess?
No.
Ed?
No questions.
Bill?
No, thank you.
Jesse?
No, thank you for coming.
All right, thank you, Robert.
Thank you, guys.
Anyone else? Any other residents of Haverford Township? No? Brian, is there anything you want to add?
I don't think so.
Okay. Any other questions before we close the record?
No.
Jess, Ed, Bill, Jesse?
I'm good.
All right, we're good? All right, with that, we'll close the record on this case, and a decision will be rendered. Well, actually, before I do that, Brian, I just want to ask you, if you're permitted to do this, we don't give variances, open-ended variances. There's a time limit to these. How long do you think you would need? We typically give 1 year, and then if
Oh, yeah,
you don't have it done in a year.
we
you
have a
to come
builder
back.
already, he's basically waiting because he actually has an opening in his schedule surprisingly, which is shocking, but, yeah, he can get started almost immediately.
I mean, I have no idea what the result of this
Sure.
case will be. I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, everything's lined up. We already put a deposit on a builder in hopes that everything goes through, so.
Do you think it would be done before the start of the 2022 fall school year?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, he's thinking that, like I said, he could get started before the end of April, so, and I don't think it's gonna take too long.
Okay. And with that, we'll close the record on this case, and a decision will be rendered either this evening, if we are able. It's very unlikely. If not tonight, then at our next regularly scheduled zoning hearing on April 21st.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Kelly, you have all the original exhibits?
I do, thanks.
Good, good. Our next case will be Z2204, Joseph and Tiffany Burnett, owners of 1701 Tyson Road, Havertown, PA, DC folio number 2201-0191200, who seek a variance from the provisions of section 182727C4 to erect a 6-foot solid fence that will encroach approximately 29 feet into the required 30-foot primary front yard setback. Property is zoned R4 and located in the 4th Ward. Are you Joseph?
Yes. Good evening. I have copies.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you. We'll go off the record. Record, please. Oh. Now Jeff call. Thanks, Jeff.
Full name Joseph Burnett, 1701 Tyson Road, Havertown, Pennsylvania.
God bless you. So you now have exhibits that have been marked, correct?
Yes, yes.
So why don't you refer to each and just give a brief description of what it depicts? So A1 is.
So A1 is and I apologize, it's a crudely drawn plot map offering the proposed fence line, the layout of the house, and the layout of the property, as well as showing where the neighbor's driveway is in relation to the end of the proposed fence. Also showing Tyson Road and Lawrence Road. A2 is I put a stake where the fence line was going to be, and so I tried to show line of sight from the right turn onto Tyson Road from Lawrence Road. Our house faces Lawrence Road. Our address is Tyson Road, so that's essentially why I'm coming to seek the hardship. There's no real opportunity geographically for us to put a fence up except for what is deemed to be our front yard. A3 are a couple of examples. So the top picture is a fence that is catty corner from us on Lawrence Road. I believe it's the corner of Lawrence and Jacqueline, I think.
It is.
Excuse me?
It is.
Okay. And so you'll also know, if you know that it's the corner of Lawrence and Jacqueline, that it is a little bit of a zoo right around that area during Halloween and Christmas. We appreciate it because it's natural white noise at night, but it also is an opportunity for kids and neighbors to come up and visit with us and look at the blow-ups. But the bottom picture is actually just right across the street, and that's just another example of a privacy fence.
Where is the bottom picture?
The bottom picture is actually right across the street on Manoa. So I believe it's like 613 Manoa.
613 Manoa Road?
Yes.
Where's that in relation to your house?
That's not.
Yeah, I mean, in relation to your house, that's a.
I live off of Lawrence Road by Linwood Elementary School. So I just saw that picture and I took it to, as an example of that right turn where there's no stop sign, so you're turning right off of a main road, excuse me. I don't know if that has any reference or bearing based off of where my property is, but there's not many examples near me. 4 is the front view of our house from Lawrence Road, and it gives you, the top is, gives you an idea as to what our rear yard consists of, which is to the right where the 2 cars are parked and the shed is. It also gives you an idea as to what we would be facing with as far as the hills on the property. Behind the cars, it's difficult to tell, but there is a steep incline that goes back to the back of the property. And then that loops around to the back of the house. The bottom image is what is zoned our front yard. As you can see, it's the flattest part of the property. It's where I have 3 kids. I have a 6-year-old girl, a 4-year-old girl, and an 18-month-old boy. And so my wife and I are always busy. We're trying to play with them out in the yard. That's where all the kids in the neighborhood that we're friends with come to play. And so the parents just kind of make a barrier on the sidewalk to try to keep the kids from coming into the road or around the front of the house. 5 is a SketchUp of the potential fence layout. Please ignore the wooden deck. That's not relevant to this project. The fence would have more of a curve along the sidewalk. The sidewalk curves, and so there would be more of a curve to the fence. And then 6 and 7 are signatures from neighbors. I showed them images of what we're proposing to do. I also showed them A2. So what it would look like coming from Lawrence, turning right onto Tyson Road. And these are all signatures of neighbors who are in support. There's several neighbors on this that actually have kids that come to our street or our house to play with the girls.
Joseph, in A4, is that a white fence that I see?
That is our neighbor's white fence in their rear yard, yes.
I always hold my questions till last, so I'll do that again. And Jesse, I believe you went last on the first case, so how about you go on this?
Thank you. Could you tell us what kind of fence, height, materials, style that you are planning to do?
Our first choice would be a 6-foot wood picket privacy fence. However, we're willing to negotiate that. We can do shadow box. We can do, if we're able, we can do 4-foot with lattice for the remaining 2 feet. And we could do, picket as well. So, but our plan is to do wood, a wood fence, and either paint it white or stain it. So,
When you say you'd be willing to do a picket fence, would that be what's also commonly referred to as an estate fence, like a black iron fence?
I don't think we would be able to go iron.
Or aluminum?
Yeah, I mean, we're just trying to do budget friendly, to be honest. I mean, it's wood was probably the most affordable option to do, and so that's where we're at. I mean, if there was no other way to be approved than to get a vinyl fence, then we'd have to evaluate that. But from a budget standpoint, we were pretty much stuck with wood or looking at wood.
But so your first preference is a taller, more opaque, solid fence, and then, but you would be open to a more open fence? Okay.
Yes.
Because one of the concerns I would have being on the corner, and is, I think, demonstrated in your A2, is how solid this could look.
Sure.
And my concern would be, the visibility of oncoming cars, pedestrians,
Right.
people.
So to address that on A2, that last house that you can see, the full house, that is the fourth house up from the stop sign on Tyson Road in Lawrence. The driveway before that house is approximately 55 yards from the corner of Tyson Road and Lawrence Road.
Okay. And in staying on A2, this, as you testified before, your property slopes down to the sidewalk from the house. Would you keep the fence line would the 6 feet be measured at the sidewalk height, or would it step up as it gets to the house to remain at 6 feet?
So I would keep the fence at 6 foot from ground level. So it's either so at the sidewalk, it would be 6 feet, and then I would slope it towards the house. So at the house, it would be 6 feet as well.
Okay, so you want to maintain 6 feet, so it
Yes.
would actually, the top of the fence wouldn't be straight as
No, it wouldn't be
illustrated, but it would,
straight.
okay.
It wouldn't be straight.
Understood. My other question was on A1, you show one line of the fence that's marked D, and D has a measurement of 29 feet.
Yes.
And D comes off, I guess, at an angle from the house coming towards Tyson Road.
Yeah, we are, I guess right underneath D, there's another line that says 31.
Okay.
And that's more flat with the house.
Correct?
Our intention, our hope was to provide a little bit more of an angle, just for a little bit more area, for the kids, if that's a possibility.
That was going to be exactly my question, was would coming straight off the house be something you would be willing to do?
Yes.
Okay. I have no other questions.
Bill?
So, looking at the A1 again.
Yes.
You're proposing bringing a fence within, what distance from the sidewalk? What would be the space?
I believe code's, 36 inches?
So you'd want this fence to go all the way out to within a yard of the sidewalk?
Yes.
And why?
Because I wanted to push for as much space for my kids to be able to play in a safe area. Yeah, that's the main reason.
Right, and although your house seems to face the corner, your address is in fact Tyson Road, right?
We believe so we're the second owners of the home, and so we believe that the house was originally supposed to face Tyson Road, but the owner was a pediatrician and ran an office out of the basement. So we think during the building process, they had the house turned so that they could do a walk-in to the basement so that he could run his.
Got it. All right, thanks. I don't have any other questions.
Ed?
Yes, do you know what the right-of-way is for Tyson Road?
The right-of-way?
Yes.
I don't.
But we can't approve a fence in the right-of-way, and we don't have that on the map. Kelly, do you have any information on that?
I'm looking for the deepest paperwork, hold on.
Thank you.
Tyson Road has a right-of-way of 50 feet.
We don't know.
why on the plan it says 25 feet from Lawrence Center, and then furthermore down 25 feet from Tyson Center. The 25 feet is measured from the center of the road, half of the right-of-way.
So I made sure we wouldn't be encroaching within that 25 feet.
Okay, you've already testified on the record that 6 feet is not something that you have to have. So what is the minimum that you would accept?
I would prefer a 4 foot, at minimum. You know, we live on a busy road. We're right down the street from 476. We had an incident, about a year and a half ago where my daughter was out playing. We were watching her from the house. Somebody pulled up, they stopped. We called my daughter in, they left. Could have been nothing, but at the same time, it scared us, and that was when we really wanted to start pursuing the fence. And so, you know, people cut through that street constantly. So whenever there's any kind of backup on Lawrence Road, people cut through there. So they're using it as a cut through from Lawrence and from Westchester Pike. So it's fairly busy. So there's people that aren't familiar with the amount of kids that are in the neighborhood. There was a slow kids at play sign up like in our yard when we moved in, and they took that down 2 weeks after we moved in. I have no idea why. But I'd prefer something where, A, my kids aren't able to get out. I have some wild ones, but also that people can't get in or can't lean over and get in.
Okay, I have no other question. Thank you.
Jessica,
All my questions were asked. Thank you.
So is that a good job? Then we do all right.
Good job to them, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Sure.
While he's thinking, I'll ask one more question if you don't mind, Joseph. So
Sure.
on A4, the two pictures, the upper photo on A4, which is the front view of your, the view of the front of your house from Lawrence Road, where you testified that behind your house is a white fence that belongs to your neighbor. It's, I guess, their backyard. This is a neighbor on Tyson,
That's 2 houses down.
2 houses further around the corner on Tyson.
Yes. Yeah.
And that looks to be, is that a white vinyl
It's
fence?
a white vinyl fence. I guess it's a 4-foot fence. We
And-
wouldn't connect to that fence at all.
I got it. And I'm just trying to, because the picture, it's such a distance, it's hard to
Sure,
see.
yeah.
I'm trying to think about other fences. So this has sort of the scallop top of the fence, but is it solid picket? Is there space between it?
There's about a 3-inch gap between.
So it's like kind of a 3-inch picket, 3-inch gap, 3-inch picket, 3-inch gap?
Yes.
So, and that style of fence would not be one that would not be a preferred fence for
I
you?
mean, if I can make it out of wood, it's just it's more of a budget.
I got it.
So-
Okay. All right, thanks. I said I just wanted to try to understand the picture.
Yeah.
Joseph, do you think this fence will alter the character of the neighborhood?
I don't, and I think that, you know, the signatures would support that as well. I think once you're past my house, because of the curve, I mean, you can't even see my house from 1705.
I'm not talking about sight lines.
Sure.
I'm just talking about a fence of that height, a
In my-
solid stockade fence in the front yard.
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, it wouldn't. I mean, that's why I went out and got signatures. I could
I get it.
go out
Sign your
and get you
petition.
45 more, so.
Did you give any thought to, like, going off of the left side, as you look at the front of the house, the left side and just squaring them off onto Tyson and having that little fenced-in area that does tie into your neighbor's white picket fence?
I'm sorry, I'm not quite following you.
So if you look at your A1,
A1.
just something that comes across here and have this area to the left of your house as you face the front fenced in, rather than this whole running along the entire length of the sidewalk.
I'm sorry, can I see what you're,
So I'm talking about
So-
from here, just straight back and have this area fenced in.
yeah, that's the proposed area.
It's just the red dash line, Bob.
Sorry. That's a crude drawing, I apologize.
Yes. I got you. I was looking at this.
So the green area is where our driveway is and where that actually butts up against the neighbor's fence. So they have a white or not privacy, but a white vinyl fence, and then they have another 10, maybe 12 feet that is you can't really see it because it's a chain link fence that backs up against Lawrence Road.
All right. Any other questions? Jesse? Bill?
No thing.
Ed?
No question.
Jessica?
No.
Okay. Anything else you would like to add, Joseph?
I think I covered everything. Thank you.
Okay, with that, I'll ask if there's anyone present that received certified mail that wishes to testify, anyone present that received regular mail, any other resident of Haverford Township. With that, we'll close the record on this case, and a decision will be rendered either tonight if possible. If not tonight, then at our next regularly scheduled meeting on April 21st.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Just after the one. Brittany just Doberman picture last week. Nice. Our next case is Z2205 T-Mobile LLC, care of Douglas Cowan, AICP agent for telecommunications facility located at 126 Westchester Pike, Havertown, PA, DC folio number 2202-012710, who seeks a modification from the February 9, 1998 zoning hearing board variance granted, case Z97-44, to include swapping 3 panel antennas for 3 new model panel antennas, add 1 new equipment cabinet and 1 battery cabinet on a proposed steel platform on the roof, and add 3 remote radio units with related cables and ancillary equipment. The property is C1 and located in the 2nd Ward. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Douglas Cowan. I'm an authorized agent for T-Mobile. I have a letter authorizing me from T-Mobile that was sent to the zoning office. I'm not an attorney. I am a certified planner. I have appeared in front of this board, although it's been a number of years, on behalf of T-Mobile, by the way, not in connection with this particular application or site, but other sites in Haverford Township. It's a pleasure to be here. I appreciate your reading the...
Welcome back.
Thank you, thank you. It's a whole new building, but I appreciate your reading the description of the proposed project at 126 Westchester Pike. This is a modification of an existing wireless telecommunications facility, which is situated at a rooftop billboard at the property in
Douglas,
question.
I need to swear you because it's going to be testimony. I wasn't.
Okay,
So please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
yes, I do.
And your full name and the capacity, which is agent, but for the record, please.
Yes, my name is Douglas Cowan, that's spelled C-O-W-A-N, and I'm an agent for T-Mobile. My business address, first of all, my employer is Network Building and Consulting, LLC, and the business address is 1777 Century Parkway West in Bluebell, Pennsylvania.
So, Mr. Cowan, I have a couple of questions for you first. Number one, thank you for acknowledging that you're not an attorney. Can you give me a little bit of an understanding as to whether you were here simply as an agent, or are you proposing to provide any expert testimony?
I am here as an agent. I am not proposing to provide any expert witness testimony.
Second off, with regard to the correspondence that you had with the codes office, you made several references to what we'll call the federal shot clock. Again, you're not an attorney, so you don't have legal experience in filing for deemed approvals or taking things of this nature to court, correct?
Correct.
Have you consulted an attorney with regard to that particular act?
I have spoken with an attorney, yes, about this particular act, yes.
In this case?
Well, I do, by the way, I have a letter from T-Mobile's corporate counsel,
Well,
Timothy
they're not here.
Helinski.
I don't want to hear that. I want to know whether, I asked a question.
Okay.
Did you speak to an attorney regarding that section of the code, specifically with regard to this case?
The only attorney that I spoke with was T-Mobile's corporate counsel.
Did you specifically, listen to my question,
Okay.
did you consult with any attorney? I don't care whether it was me. Did you consult with any attorney whatsoever regarding the 2020 Federal Communication Commission's ruling, specifically concerning this application?
No, I did not.
So you have no standing here to challenge the fact that this matter is before this board and not, as you've indicated, outside of their purview, correct?
I'm sorry, I don't understand the question.
Well, your letter says that, you know, we don't even need to be here. But you don't have any legal basis to state that tonight, do you?
Well, I was here, I can be helpful in terms of,
I'm asking a specific
Demonstrating-
question. I don't mind a narrative,
okay.
but it's kind of polite when I ask a question, if you can answer it first and then maybe say, can I explain?
Okay,
Okay,
fair
so
enough.
Can you answer that?
Could you repeat the question?
Sure. So you don't have any legal basis standing here today in your capacity as an agent to indicate that we shouldn't be here, that this should be a deemed approval, correct?
I don't have any legal capacity. No, I do not. I don't have legal capacity. I'm not an attorney.
Okay, so we're just going to move past that issue and
Okay.
you'll acknowledge that's not an issue in this case, correct?
Yes.
Thank you. You can go forward.
So, with respect to exhibits, Douglas, do you have exhibits that you want to mark for the case?
Well, I do have a letter from the corporate, as I was saying, the corporate counsel from T-Mobile, Timothy Helinski, who submitted a letter to the Deputy Zoning Officer, Margaret Buchanan, this week. If you haven't seen the letter, I'd like to hand it out. I do have several copies of it.
Oh, okay. And do you want that to be marked Exhibit A1?
That would be fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Douglas.
Thank you.
Otherwise, I have no other exhibits. I believe the board members have everything that I submitted in the multiple packages when I submitted the application.
Yes, but to the extent that we are going to refer to them in the case, they need to be marked as exhibits. So do you have a copy of the packet that you submitted?
I have a copy of all of the documents that I submitted, yes.
Okay, so in order to refer to them and to make them part of the case, they need to be marked as exhibits. I'm not sure which of the attachments to your packet you would like to have marked exhibits. I don't want to guess, so if you want to go through the packet and pull out those that you wish to have marked as exhibits, we'll go through the marking process and identification process, and then we can get into the whats and whys.
Okay, well, I had submitted a cover letter dated March 2nd with the items numbered. There was a zoning hearing board application was number 1. I guess we could mark that if need be.
But you want to, so. All right. We're going to go off the record. Bill, would you, Ed, your chop needs work.
Very good.
Okay. So Douglas, do you have exhibits that you would like to mark and move into the record? Yes, right?
I have a set of drawings here that are marked.
Okay.
First one is A2, what's the last one?
The first one is A2, the last one is A16.
And these are the plans that were attached to the application.
There's nothing else?
Nope.
Okay. Okay. So now that we've gotten to this stage, please tell us about what T-Mobile would like to do and why.
Okay. T-Mobile is proposing to modify an existing wireless telecommunications facility located at 126 Westchester Pike. It's an existing roof-mounted billboard which supports the T-Mobile equipment, antennas, and related equipment. T-Mobile routinely needs to modify these sites in order to meet the radio frequency objectives and meet their customers' needs in terms of the evolving technology, which includes new equipment, new antennas, new radio cabinets, things like that. T-Mobile's in the process of modifying their sites throughout the market area, which includes southeastern Pennsylvania, southern New Jersey, all of Delaware, and parts of Maryland. So that's what's being proposed tonight. Specifically, as the chairman mentioned from reading the notice, the applicant is proposing to install a steel platform extension with 1 proposed equipment cabinet, 1 proposed battery cabinet, 3 proposed antennas, and 3 proposed radio units. And they're also proposing to remove 3 of the existing antennas. So the antennas are just being swapped in. They're not adding any new antennas, just swapping in new model antennas for the existing, for 3 of the existing panel antennas. So that's all of it. That's what's being proposed. It's relatively minor, and I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Mr. Cowan, I'm going to have marked the February 9, 1998 order of the zoning hearing board of Haverford Township as, I guess, T1. Have you seen this before?
Yes, I have.
Let me get it marked. I have one question for you about it.
Thank you.
You can turn that to the second page. When the initial application was approved, there were conditions placed upon it, correct?
Correct.
What does condition 3 say, if you could read it into the record?
The antennae shall not be constructed, located, or moved in such a way that they would exceed the height of the existing or any future billboard at this site.
And do the proposed antennae exceed the billboard or building height? Or is there not an exhibit that shows that?
I'm checking the details to make sure that I can answer this properly. I'm not aware that they exceed the height of the billboard, but I'm double checking to see if I can demonstrate that from the plans. To the best of my knowledge, the antennas do not exceed the height of the billboard. Based on my review of the plans and having been to the site, I don't believe that we're exceeding the height of the existing billboard.
Is there anything in the plans that we could look at to see that? Whether it's dimensions or whether it's depictions or elevations?
Really picked it up.
I am not able to find on the plans where I can demonstrate that definitively, but we have a photograph that shows that the antennas are below the top of the billboards.
The current,
The current antennas, that's right. And I don't believe, in fact, I don't believe that the height of the tips of the antennas is going to be exceeded. The replacement antennas are actually slightly shorter than the existing antennas. They're wider somewhat, but they're shorter. So I don't see that there's any chance that we're going to exceed the height of the existing billboard.
do you think that there is an exhibit that you can present to this board that will establish whether you have its height or not? Because I understand what you're saying, but you're the moving party and the board just can't accept speculation, and I think it looks like things of that nature.
Right. I completely agree, and I totally understand. And I do have a photograph that I think should be definitive with respect to that. This is a photograph that I took at the subject property last week on March 30th, and I can certainly hand that around. I think that might,
It would have to be marked, Douglas, and part
Right.
of the record, so we won't be able to give it back to you.
right, I just wanted to make sure, though, there wasn't something on the plans.
I might be able to help there, because it was noted in my letter that there was a significant change in height. If you turn to what's on the drawing index as A1 antenna schedule and exhibit A7, you go down each of those, it says the antenna dimensions, height, weight, and depth. The existing, the first of A1, the existing antennas, is 33.1 inches.
So Kel, just so we're clear, this pack has been marked A2. So,
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought
bottom-
we marked them individually.
no, we did. So the first page of this packet is A2.
Right.
And they go consecutively from there.
Right, so did I miscount? I
I thought
counted
you
that as
said
A7.
A1. I'm sorry.
It's the
Sorry, Kel.
index on the front page, on the cover page.
I got you.
It's marked as A1, it's exhibit A7. It got a little
I'm sorry.
confusing there. It's all right.
My fault.
So sector A1 on that page has a chart showing each of the proposed and existing antennas and equipment. and all three of those, existing and proposed, have an existing height of 33.1 inches and a proposed height of 72 inches. The width is about a difference of about a little less than 4.5 inches, and very minimal difference in the depth. But that is, yeah, where I'm seeing the change in height there.
Well, just to be clear, on A7, the antenna schedule reflects a total of 6 panel antennas. The existing 3 will stay in place, and the 3 that are marked proposed are the new panel antennas. So we're not replacing existing with proposed. It's actually additive. It's not replacement in this chart.
Okay, fine, I misunderstood that from the plans, but still significantly higher than what is existing, correct?
No, I don't believe so.
From 33 to 72?
33, wait, did you say 3372?
No, 33.10, or 3.1
Right.
inches is existing. The proposed is 72 inches.
Right, but the proposed antennas are replacing a different set of 3 antennas that are existing up there. And the existing 3 that are being replaced are not shown on this schedule, on A7.
I've never heard of such a thing, and that's why I'm maybe a bit confused of why
Right.
they would be showing, why.
Believe me, it can be very confusing sometimes to try to understand the scope of the work on some of these modification
Sure,
projects.
but why are they referencing the existing and the proposed if these are not the ones that they're replacing?
The,
they're replacing
the
one-
ones that are marked proposed are replacing 3 of the 6 antennas that are up there now.
Is there an exhibit that shows those 3 that are being proposed to be replaced and their height?
Yes. If you look at A8, it shows the existing configuration for 3 sectors, and it shows the proposed configuration for the same 3 sectors.
But A8 does not establish exactly how high these are in relation to the billboard.
That's correct. You'd have to refer back to A7 in order to know the height. It's called the rad center height at which they're mounted. And
Do we know how high the billboard is?
we know how high the frame of the billboard is. The billboard itself does not seem to be dimensioned on the plans, so but I do have a photograph that clearly shows the antennas
All right.
being below the top.
I understand your position with the photograph, and I'm not trying to be difficult here. But a photograph is just a picture that can be taken from many different angles, many different views. You might have been at ground level, you might have been on a bucket truck. I don't know that sitting here today. But actual measurements and plans are what zoning hearing boards need to see in order to make an educated decision on a case.
We could certainly provide the dimensions, whether or not I can get them this evening. I don't know whether we have an as-built or something that might show that. We may be, hopefully we can provide that. But, I mean, just so everyone sees, this is a photograph that I took last week. It shows the antennas which are shooting.
Well, let's mark, if you're going to show the board that, why don't we have it marked as Exhibit A17, and then hand it up to the board so they can take a look at it.
A17, okay, there you go. Do you need multiple copies? I do have,
I'll take the original, and if you can give the board member
okay.
the copies, that'd be great.
Good thing they made it not go higher.
From the west looking east. Bill, your question? Sure. Douglas, whenever you're ready, I had a couple questions.
Okay.
Okay. So, since 1998, when the order from this board was given, have there been any prior changes, or is all of the equipment that's currently installed on the roof the exact same equipment that was originally installed?
There have been changes since 1998. In fact, I believe there was a modification project that was implemented last year in 2021.
And you didn't come back to this board
No,
for the
no, we weren't.
modification of the variance?
No, the township issued permits for that work with no need to come to the zoning hearing board.
So I wanted to, just bear with me, because I need to go through a number of the, all right, well, while we're on this topic, in Exhibit A17, this one,
Yes,
the antennas that seem to protrude from the sides of the billboard from this elevation, were they original, or were they part of the 2021 additions?
they were part of the 2021 modification project.
So if I could take you to page A, or Exhibit A4, which is page C1 of the 15-page packet. There are several areas that are denoted with dashes or hash. There are particularly 4 squares that are denoted by hash, or rectangles rather, by hash lines. You see those?
Four areas. I see some shading on.
There's one on either side of the rear of the structure. There's one directly that sits on top of the existing rear structure, and then I believe there's a new proposed one. Is that right?
Yes,
Okay. So everything in the shaded box, the large rectangle, that's all going to be new?
yes.
Right. And then the box directly behind the billboard that's within the hash marks, it says there's some existing T-Mobile 200A PPC and an existing frame. And I was just wondering why it was denoted with dashes. Is that, that doesn't indicate new? Is that right? It just, or is that where you're
I'm
going to
trying
replace
to
equipment?
make sure I know exactly where you're referring to.
It's this square box right in the middle. Is that new? Is that why it's?
Oh, well, it looks like you're referring to the antenna sector, which has a dashed line around it.
Yep.
It's kind of on an angle like.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a sector of antennas. That's one of the 3 sectors of the antennas that we're talking about. One of those,
One would be replaced there? I mean, is that the plan?
yes, one of those will be replaced and one of them will be kept.
Okay.
That's exactly right. As is the same thing with the other 2 sectors as well.
Okay, so let's talk about the one at the top of the page.
Okay,
That looks like it projects over the, is that the side of the building? What is that angled line, square, is that steel superstructure on top of the roof, or is that the building line?
I believe that's the building parapet, the roof
Okay, that's the building parapet?
Yes.
And so
That's correct,
That,
yes.
that antenna extends over the parapet,
Yes,
is that one that's being replaced, or is that one that's being left alone?
it's being replaced.
And that one sits over the sidewalk? The building, let me ask you this question first. The building is immediately adjacent to the sidewalk?
Yes, it is.
So if this piece of equipment extends over the parapet, does it therefore extend over the sidewalk?
That would be correct.
Okay? And do you know what the right-of-way is for that part of Westchester Pike?
Not offhand.
Kelly, do you know?
In most places, it's 60 feet. For this location, specifically on Westchester Pike, I'm not entirely certain.
Okay, what, you heard in the prior case that, we don't like to have things in the right-of-way,
Sure.
and we're not really in the position to grant a variance that would allow things to be built in a right-of-way. I realize this is up in the air. I'm just wondering if this is physically over the right-of-way. We've heard it's over the parapet. We've heard it's over the sidewalk. The sidewalk provides the direct connection between the cart path of Westchester Pike and the side of the building.
Right.
So do you know if this is in the right-of-way?
I don't.
Have there been any plans that show the building and its situation vis-à-vis the
I don't-
sidewalk, the road, the right-of-way, or any of the other, like a plot plan?
I don't have any maps or documents with me that would demonstrate the location of the property line. And I'm sorry, I'm just looking at the photographs that I took. And you're correct. That particular antenna is and will overhang the sidewalk. We're not actually exacerbating that by this application much, although it's possible it could be a few inches. But the short answer is I don't have a map. I don't know exactly where the right-of-way line is. I would have been happy to find out if I'd have known ahead of time somehow, and I did ask if there was any reports or anything on this application, but I don't have that information with me.
Well, with all due respect, it's your application, not the
Right.
township's duty. to
No, I didn't mean to say
Tell
so.
you how to present your case.
Right.
And, the board's going to do what the board wants to do tonight, but I'm a bit concerned that we don't have proper documentation, proper measurement,
Okay.
proper dimensions
Fair enough.
of all these things. And, that definitely makes this board's job extremely difficult, if
Right.
not impossible for them.
I understand, and I appreciate these questions. They're good questions. I'm not trying to
I think we're going to end
minimize
up
that.
continuing the case at the end, when we're done hearing testimony tonight, and ask you to provide these things at our next hearing. But
Sure,
let's continue on, see if there are
right.
any other items.
Yeah, yeah, no problem. There was a reference in, Doug, from you in your December 23 letter. You recall this? It was part of the packet that we were given for the application. And it discusses, it included 6 bullet points at the, it said, it doesn't increase the height of the facility by more than 20 feet or 10%. So I just want to make sure I'm getting this right. On page A7, or on, Exhibit A7, which is page denoted A1 in the packet, where sectors A2, B2, and C2, which are all identified as proposed, which are listed as being 72 inches in height. And what we understand is A1, B1, and C1 are not being replaced. So there was, something else is being replaced. Can you testify, or do you know what the height of those antennae that are being replaced currently is?
I can, I'd have to look at the plans which I have for the prior modification. I have those, they're on my laptop, but I'd have to look at them.
Well, I think they should, that's the type of information I think that should be part of the record.
Sure. Well, I mean,
Because we're trying to, in fact, I would just like to know that each of the bullet points that you've averred in your December 23 letter is documented in the materials submitted so
Yes.
that we can make it that
right,
determination.
and I
because-
was here to help with that, you're right.
Yep, yep.
I mean, if you can give me a couple minutes, I could tell you what the dimensions are, but I'd have to look at my laptop.
But you can't put your laptop into evidence.
So that's the one we're replacing then? Okay,
Before you even start that, I don't think you heard Mr. Kane as you walked back there. Unless you want to have the phone or your laptop marked as an exhibit left to the township, that's not going to be sufficient. We need the plans submitted to this.
okay, and I can do that, that's fair, and we're coming back anyway, I hear you say,
Well,
which is okay. I mean,
Right.
look, T-Mobile wants to do this the right way, and we're here to help. That's
So-
the only real point that I wanted to make
Yep.
about these questions. These are good questions, we can provide the information. I just wasn't anticipating those questions tonight, that's all.
That's fine. We're here to try to kind of put everything on the table that we're aware of based on what we've seen.
Sure,
Right? And
yes.
obviously, there may be more once we see more, but
Right,
the second bullet point in your letter discusses a tower, right? And it uses the reference to a tower in two places in that bullet point. The proposal does not protrude from the edge of the tower more than 20 feet or the width of the tower, whichever is greater. What is the tower?
no, it's a term that's used generically.
In this case, what do you think
It's
is
the billboard,
the billboard?
yes.
So the proposal does not protrude from the edge of the billboard more than 20 feet or the width of the billboard, whichever is greater. That would be the equivalent. But the existing antenna and the proposed antenna would in fact protrude from the edge of the billboard.
They would protrude, but not 20 feet.
That's fine. I'm just trying to make sure that, okay.
That's correct.
What's the significance of 20 feet?
I think it's in the federal thing that they're
Right.
trying to reference. So no more than the standard number of new equipment cabinets appropriate to the technology will be installed. You want to educate us on what the standard number of cabinets is for the technology?
I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4 cabinets would be standard. Beyond that, it's probably debatable.
And how many would be
We have-
retained and added?
There's 1 being retained and there's 2 being added.
Okay.
So there'll be a total of 3
So
if
the
this
pro-
project is
okay.
implemented.
So the proposal would not defeat existing concealment elements.
Right. There are no concealment elements here. Everything's visible. There's no so-called stealthing techniques used here where they put up like composite screens that look like brick walls and stuff to hide the antennas. There's none of that here. So everything is out in the open. There is no stealthing. So no stealthing would be defeated here.
So, all right, so there wasn't something that you were referring to as concealment elements on this that we should take note of? Right?
There's nothing considered concealment.
Okay. I'm trying to figure out on page A6, or exhibit A6, denoted as page C3, sheet number C3, which is identified as elevation. Which elevation is this?
This is the rear of the, wait, let me just make sure. So I believe that this is the east elevation, southeast elevation, yes.
So east elevation meaning looking west from the east?
Being east of the building,
Is
looking,
this a freestanding
looking
building?
at the building from the east.
Looking at the building from the east. So this is several doors down. This is a row building, right?
I mean, it's an attached building. Yes, I would say that's
I think there's
a
several.
fair characterization, right?
Sorry.
It's a row building, yes.
Yeah, so do you have a sense of what the distance from the applicant's building, which is on the western edge of this series of buildings, is to this facade depicted in the elevation?
I'm sorry, the question again is,
Yeah, do you have a sense of what the distance is from the billboard, let's say, to this wall that's being depicted here?
let's see. Well, Exhibit A4 has a graphic scale, and we could use that to
Can we? I don't know.
determine or get at least a sense of the distance.
No, it was. So what I'm trying to figure out here is that this makes it appear that the equipment is at or near, because of the view angle, it looks like that this is at or near the edge of this wall. But in fact, this equipment, I think, is several storefronts further away. And so the depiction, I think, we would actually only see from this is supposed to be essentially from ground level or just at the middle of the building. I'm trying to figure out what this is supposed to tell us, because it looks to me that it's so two-dimensional that it actually doesn't depict anything for us. It suggests that either the equipment is flush with the eastern boundary of the building, but in fact, it's flush with the western boundary of the building.
Right, because it's an elevation view.
Yeah, okay. Do you know how far into or over the parapet and the sidewalk the proposed antenna would extend?
Well, again, Exhibit A4 has a scale, a graphic scale, and you could apply that to come up with a pretty decent estimate of what the overhang is beyond the wall of the building. And I would say, I'd have to use this.
Graphic scale.
Yeah, because these,
The graphic scale is 1 inch equals 10 feet?
it's, 1 inch equals 20 feet when you're using 11 by 17 paper,
Got it.
which we
So-
are.
Approximately how far over the parapet is the equipment extending based on, is that a half an inch in this depiction?
Do you have a graphic scale with you? I mean, a scale? Let me see. I mean, it looks like very close to 10 feet. Wait, if I'm doing this right, yeah. Is that right? No, that can't be right. It can't be 10 feet. What?
So Douglas, if I can interject, when every answer is qualified, but I believe, then it sounds more like speculation, a statement of fact. So please just if you don't know, say, I don't know. If you do know, then answer with certainty.
Well,
Or tell us you'll check into it and get back to us.
yes, I understand, Mr. Chairman. This particular question, I believe we can answer, but it takes, I just don't want to answer it wrong. I want to make sure that it's right. So I need the opportunity to just make sure, that's all. And I appreciate your
You need
comment.
us to take a break? You need to make some sort of calculations or something? We can take a few-minute break. Take a break, Bill? All right, take a 5-minute recess.
Okay, thank you.
Off the record?
Here.
Thank you.
So Doug, just going back, we were talking about Exhibit A4, denoted as sheet number C1, and which shows the extension of the proposed new antenna, which appears to extend over the parapet or and the sidewalk. And the question before you had been, how far does that extend over parapet sidewalk?
The answer is approximately 3 feet.
So that would suggest that, so 3 feet over the sidewalk, and that is a state highway and with a PennDOT-owned highway, with a right-of-way that we believe is 60 feet, but we don't have any information in your package as to where that right-of-way ends and the property line begins, or where on the sidewalk, if the sidewalk's within the full is fully within the right-of-way, or only partially within the right-of-way, or not at all within the right-of-way.
Correct.
We don't know, okay. And so based on, are you suggesting that the scale on page A4 is actually incorrect?
Yes, I believe the scale is incorrect.
Okay. And do you have reason to believe that the scale is accurate in the other pages, or just this one?
I have no reason to believe it's not accurate on the other pages. I don't know.
That's all for now, thank you.
Okay. Ed?
Yes. Looking over the records here, how many antenna are at this location?
Currently, there's 6 panel antennas.
6 antennas. Are they all for T-Mobile?
Yes, the panel antennas are all T-Mobiles.
Is there some other type of antenna other than panel?
I'm not aware if there are. If the owner has a TV antenna or something, he might, I don't know.
Okay, the other question is, do you know, looking at Exhibit A4, there are 3 boxes, dash boxes, that include some type of an array. Are those 2 antennas in each of those boxes?
A4, each of the 3 dash rectangles,
Yes.
each has 2 antennas, that's correct.
And is the darker of the 2, or how do you tell which is the one that's going to be replaced?
For that information, I'll refer you to A8, where, as I mentioned earlier, there's an existing antenna plan and a proposed antenna plan. And the proposed antenna replacement is detailed on A8 in terms of what model's going to replace what.
So there's no rhyme or reason for the difference in the darkness. On the top box, it appears that the furthest one extended out over the sidewalk would be the new one. And for the one on the opposite end, not the one in the middle, it would appear that the one closer to the billboard is the one and is not being the one replaced.
Correct.
Okay. So we have 6 antenna, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm looking at the order, it only references 3. Would it be possible, is that correct?
That's correct.
And these other 3 antenna that appeared, were they part of this approval that was granted without coming here?
That's correct.
Could you make, with this resubmission, information on what changed between the original application that was approved by the zoning board and the current status.
When you say information, in what form? You're looking for,
I guess I'm looking for what was changed by you having a permit to do some work. And it sounds like you added 3 antennas that were not in the original rule, that was intended to come here. So somehow there was an error in which those 3 antennas that were added did not come in front of the zoning hearing.
I can provide whatever information you're asking for. We have plans from the original installation, and I can compare those with I think I hear you saying with what's being proposed tonight, and let you know what changed. Is that what would help?
And what was added, what was added in, what was that, 21, you said?
2021?
Yeah, what
yes.
was added in 2021 that we didn't get a look at? And I'm looking at the order that was provided by the zoning board, and I don't look at the date right offhand here. I don't see the date. Oh, 98. In 98, there was an application here that was received. I want to know what changed so I can make sure that we're understanding what changed between this order and what you're asking for today. Not who was at fault for what, but just so we know exactly.
So just so I'm clear, though, you're not looking for what changed in 2021 from the original order? You're
Yes,
looking-
I'm looking for what changed, and what did you change in 2021 that we didn't get a chance to look at?
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Yes, I have, I'd be glad to provide the plans, which are probably on file in the building department. But I can definitely.
That's not part of the record here.
Right, I hear you, and I'd be happy to submit plans to Margaret, if that would help, enough 7 sets of those plans.
I want you to submit it to the zoning board, so we need a copy for everybody to look
Sure,
at.
I can definitely
Part
do
of the
that.
packet.
Yes,
That is all I have. Thank you.
thank you.
Jessica,
On Exhibit A4, you're depicting proposed T-Mobile equipment cabinets on a new steel platform, correct?
Yes,
The existing T-Mobile cabinet appears to be within the structure of the billboard. Is that correct?
it's situated in proximity to the structure of the structural portion of the billboard, that's right.
What is the reason why these new equipment cabinets cannot be located in the same manner?
There wasn't enough room on the particular platform where the one cabinet is, so we had to provide a platform extension, a structural platform extension.
And a platform could not have been provided adjacent to that existing T-Mobile cabinet?
That's correct.
Because it appears that the spacing between the billboard supports is equal on either side of that cabinet.
And keep in mind, I mean, we can provide more detail if you need that, but the billboard folks also need room to work and maintain their billboard, so there was, I think, some concern on that part too.
Okay, that information would be helpful if you can provide what clearances they require.
Okay.
And where.
Sure.
And then my next question is, can you confirm that this depiction right here on the same Exhibit A4 is the building parapet of 126?
You know what? I think I might actually ask. Dale, come on up. Maybe you can answer the board member Vitale's question about whether or not that's the parapet of 126 Westchester Pike, the subject building. I think is what.
I
the
need to
question
swear you in.
Yeah,
And please raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
yeah.
And your full name and the capacity in which you're appearing?
Okay, hi, my name is Dale Kelman. I'm the Kellman. I am the engineering manager for MBNC, who was hired by T-Mobile as their engineer.
And you heard Ms. Vitale's question?
You talking about this right here, am I correct? That portion? That looks like to be a center or common wall between the two structures there.
And you would agree that then this following wall would be the common wall between 124 and 122 Westchester Pike?
That I'm not sure, like, again, I'm not sure exactly how, like, you know, what the landlord owns here on these properties.
So that's my question,
Yeah.
is this new structure is now extending, it's actually not on 126 Westchester Pike at all, it's on 124, and extends over the common wall of 122 as well. And I'm not sure, Bill, if we have, if we need a deed for this property to show that
What we
they're
need.
allowed to build.
Yeah, what we need, and I was gonna address it at the end, is attached to the application is a structure site license. But that's backdated. Well, it's undated, but it references allowing T-Mobile's predecessor, OmniPoint, to work on, November 11, 1996. So we are going to need an updated license from the owner allowing T-Mobile to present this application.
But it appears that that site license also only references 126 Westchester Pike, and not 124 and 122, which the structure now also encroaches upon.
Which is the one?
Get letters.
Make sure they.
So you're going to need documentation from each of those three properties owners that
Right.
T-Mobile is permitted to move forward with this application.
Right, we'll verify that. And we do have, and I can provide, and I will provide, a recently fully executed amendment to the original lease with Clear Channel Outdoor that allows T-Mobile the ability to continue leasing the property for five-year terms, so up to 25 more years. That was just,
Continuing to lease the property versus allowing to move forward with the variance request.
right, right, no, I understand. And I'll supply a copy of that as well, a redacted copy.
And then my next question is in regards to Exhibit A6. The sheet is labeled C3 elevation.
Yes,
It appears in this depiction that the new antennas in fact stick up past the billboard.
So,
the billboard's not actually shown.
yeah, so what we show here is really just the back of the framing actually holds the billboard. We purposely left that off of that. If you look at a sheet, the exhibit that we were looking at earlier on, I think that's what, A8? Basically, it calls out the model numbers of the antennas. Unfortunately, yeah, we don't have the dimensions here showing that right now. And we can, we will submit the specs for that antenna. But the dimensions of that model antenna itself is 73 inches tall by 13 inches wide. The proposed antenna is 24 inches by 72 inches. By 72 inches.
Say that again, hold on. I want to get back to A7 document.
So A7 is what, the elevation?
The antenna schedule.
In the antenna schedule. So
No,
you're
I
saying.
was talking about A8. A8, sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
So A8 appears to be a plan view.
Yes,
not
a
an
plan
elevation.
view, yeah, and it shows the model number of the antenna.
So that,
Oh,
my
that's
question is, or what I need to see is the
top of-
measurement of the top of the billboard.
okay,
That extends past the structure, if it in fact does extend past the structure.
okay.
And how far the antenna framing as well as the antenna itself.
Sorry, I kind of missed it just now.
The antenna framing, as well
Okay.
as the antenna itself, because it appears there are antenna supports that stick up, that are taller in height than the antenna itself. So all of that will need to be dimensioned.
Okay.
And while you're doing that, you'll update A7, Exhibit A7 to show existing to be removed dimensions and proposed dimensions
We can do that.
for A2, B2, and C2.
Yeah, we can do that, yeah. Just trying to find a sheet here to note it. Give me 1 second.
Don't write on there. 'Cause I have to give that back.
My bad. I'm
Here,
sorry.
here's yours, here's yours. That's yours right there. That's fine. It's okay. You can write on there.
Touche. Be removed, then show billboard. Sorry, Ms. Vitale, can you repeat? So I have, you want us to revise the elevation to show the billboard height. And can you go back into the mounts, sorry,
The height of the antenna and
height
the
of-
height of any antenna support.
of any
framing.
antenna, okay. So, okay, so we show the top of that, we just gotta show the height of the actual supports, okay.
I don't have any other questions right now.
Jesse?
No, thank you. My colleagues have asked all my questions. Thank you.
Anything else we want to bring back?
A plot plan that shows Westchester Pike, Darby Road, which are on both sides of this triangular piece, depicting the right-of-ways and the relationship between the center of those two roads, the right-of-way, the sidewalk, and the property line.
Wait, I'm sorry, can I just slow
Yep.
down a minute? I'm sorry, just because I
Yep.
do want to make sure I get all the details that
Yep.
you're looking for. Plot plan showing Westchester,
Pike and Darby
Pike,
Road,
and Darby Road.
their rights-of-way depicted, and at least from the center lines. right,
Okay.
In, and then the property line and the sidewalk.
Property line
And then you'll,
and sidewalk, okay.
and then you'll orient, I think you need to orient 126, 124, and 122 in their entirety in that area so we can see the relationships between the three buildings, the structure on the roof that will impact all three roofs, and make sure the billboard's depicted as much as you can, because that is a key to the modification that you're requesting, was the billboard itself. And, you know, you've also heard tonight, we're looking for the dimensions of the billboard so that we can then assess the dimensions to the extent it's a staff, it's an antenna, it's a wand, whatever it might be, to the extent it's going above or outside the billboard, we want to know. That would be very helpful for us.
Okay.
Okay.
Chief, can you go back, sorry, you said, you mentioned about showing, sorry, a little bit more, depicting a little bit more on, the three buildings. Can you repeat exactly what you said again, sorry?
Yeah, just on the plot plan, which is presumably will be an overhead view.
Yep,
Right, so we'll see the center line of the roads
Yep.
and the right-of-way coming back. We
Yep.
can see where the property line is, we can see the sidewalks. We'll be able to see the buildings, the outlines of the three buildings,
I got you.
right?
Yep,
And then that way we can, and then if you can plot your superstructure as it exists
yep.
and propose. Those would be two different plans.
Okay, so you want to exist and a proposed plan,
Yeah.
okay.
What we're really struggling with is that we typically see, not existing, that usually means existing and to be replaced. You're showing us the existing to be retained, but we don't have any sense of the information about what's there to be replaced that we can benchmark some of your bullet points in your December letter that suggests that it's within certain percentages. We have no way to know that without that information and knowing what's going to be removed and what's going to be replaced.
I understand. Okay. We can do that.
Cool. I believe all of the questions have been covered except for you, Douglas. What were the modifications that were made in 2021? What was done at the site?
There were 3 more antennas added. That was primarily the major part of the modification that would concern this board. There was also 3 radios, I think, added, which are small pieces of equipment like that. But the big thing that you would want to know about is that there were 3 more panel antennas added to the original 3 for a total of 6.
What's the purpose of the modifications that are now proposed?
Well, I mentioned it in my introduction that T-Mobile is routinely and widely making modifications to pretty much all of their telecom facilities.
What will it do afterward that it doesn't do now, in layman terms for me?
Well, it'll provide better and faster service is what it amounts to. It's a continuing evolution that's been taking place the entire time, ever since this site was originally put up. It provides in their case, competitive wireless services, which, as you know, have evolved where, everybody has a smartphone and everybody wants service everywhere and they want it faster and better and wherever they go, they want it. So it helps to provide the service, it helps to meet the demand, the tremendous demand, the phenomenal demand for wireless services, which involves changing out equipment and putting in better, more sophisticated equipment. That's the layman's explanation, and that's probably the best I can do. Dale could probably do a little more than that, but that's generally what's involved here. They wouldn't do it if they didn't have to.
So, and I'm just going to be candid with you, right? So as I look at the prior one, condition number 2 says there shall be no additions or changes in the equipment used in the operation or maintenance of the 3 antenna without prior zoning hearing board approval. I realize that they were issued a permit, but T-Mobile was aware of the condition. But that's done, and it's not the subject of this hearing. But it's disturbing on a certain level, because when the board goes through these painstaking processes and hearings, we expect the conditions to be followed. Now, none of us were members of the board when this order was issued, but I would hope that orders that we all participate in are respected and followed by the applicants in the future, and it's a little disturbing. But
Can I, Mr. Chairman, can I speak to that? 'Cause that's a great question, and it's one that I was actually prepared to address, unlike some of the dimensional questions that came up. I've been working on the T-Mobile modification project for dozens of sites across southeast Pennsylvania, southern New Jersey, all the state of Delaware. This is the first time I've had to come before a zoning hearing board for a mod project, what they call a mod project. All of those original build projects that went in Haverford and all over Delaware County and all over the city of Philadelphia, those were done, many of those were done where they required variances and special exceptions and special use permits. I'm sure the majority of those sites have zoning hearing boards or zoning board approvals. None of them are going back to zoning hearing boards anymore because of Section 6409 of the Spectrum Act of 2012 and the orders that follow.
This order was binding.
Pardon me?
This order was binding, wasn't appealed, and it became the condition for operating at that site.
Right,
So,
as it did in other municipalities in the same way, but the federal 6409 Act intended to streamline the permitting process. That's why they issued 6409.
I thought we addressed that at the beginning of this meeting, and you waived that.
I didn't knowingly waive anything.
Knowingly, but
You
you're
asked me if
the
I-
representative of
You'd asked me if
T-Mobile.
I'd consulted with an attorney, that's all. And I called and I asked Callie Kirk if I needed an attorney to come to the board, and she said no, so.
Right. That's not all you said, but the record will reflect what you said in terms of that. But I understand your
And
position.
I won't pretend that I understood everything you said, Mr. Malone. I found that to be a little confusing. I wasn't really prepared for the question.
So, you know, what's particular, so if we look at condition 3 of this order, shall not be constructed, located, or moved in such a way exceed the height of the existing or future billboard, the existing billboard. What do you think the intent of that was?
Presumably, some sort of way to regulate the appearance of the facility.
That's the way I interpret it as well.
Sure.
So when I see the picture where the modifications made in 21 protrude from the sides, I mean, doesn't that usurp the intent?
I believe the original install protruded from the sides.
Oh, did it?
Maybe not to the same extent, but yes, I believe that those antennas were off to the side of the billboard.
I mean, when you look at that picture visually, I mean, it's not appealing to the eye. I mean, it's an eyesore, in my opinion.
Right, that location is not appealing by any stretch of the imagination to anyone. That billboard is an eyesore in itself. So I don't think that we're intensifying or exacerbating that situation.
Is there anything that could be done to conceal, move the antenna that protrude from the sides, to have them behind the billboard?
That's doubtful because of the fact that they have to radiate outward they need unobstructed. So I don't know that there would be a way to conceal everything behind the billboard. There may be some ways to reduce the visual impact, perhaps. You know, this equipment can be painted to match. Maybe there are some
Will you give that some
adjustments.
thought and try to come up with some ideas, because,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, this is what I've done in my career in the wireless industry, including the times that I appeared before this board on other T-Mobile matters. Because I am a certified planner, I'm also a licensed landscape architect in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and I'm highly experienced with boards talking about ways that we might be able to mitigate visual impacts and so forth.
But again, you're just here as a representative, not as an expert.
That's right. That is correct, yes.
So,
If I may make one other suggestion for maybe what the plans that were being brought back to this board should show. One of the big concerns with the antenna that were put up last summer is their proximity to the electrical lines. The utilities and the electrical lines were not shown on that plan. I find that a lot of things have been omitted from these plans, and it wasn't brought to our attention exactly how close they were, and that they looked dangerously close until they were actually installed. So I think that especially if these are going to be out further, and possibly likely closer to those lines, that they absolutely should be shown the distance.
Okay, so you'd like to see the overhead
Absolutely.
utility lines located on the site plan?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for that comment.
So Douglas, what's the next nearest location? What other sites does T-Mobile have in the township?
I'm not prepared to answer that. I don't have that information. And we're not going to offer it either, because we're not asking for a variance. We believe that this application has to be approved by this board, as long as we can demonstrate consistency with those standards that Mr. Rhodes was referring to in the federal legislation. So that's why I'm here, and that's what I'm able to do. I can't offer any more information than that, and I don't know where the other
Know
sites
how
are.
they might have concealed antennas at other areas in the township?
Oh, for concealment, you mean, here in the township?
Well, I'm not a radio
often-
expert.
I mean, I have worked on other sites here, Mr. Chairman, in Haverford, but I don't remember doing anything that might be helpful for you exactly, but, I have a lot of experience on,
Maybe
being
we'll come
involved
back
with
with
lots of
some
projects.
ideas of how these could be concealed.
Right.
I mean, the
Actually-
question will come, well, never mind.
Yeah.
Let it roll.
So, Mr. Ken, I can kind of attempt to answer some of your questions
Okay.
about the concealment. So typically when we conceal these antenna structures, we use material that's RF transparent, like for the structure, the support structures. Instead of using steel and stuff like that, we use what we call FRP, which is FRP, which is like a reinforced fiber material. Basically, that material is, again, RF friendly, RF transparent. And so that's why we're able to, when we do concealments, we use that, both the structure, the skeleton structure, and whatever is shielding the antenna from view, whether it looks like a chimney, stone wall, whatever. So the structure on this here right now, basically, if you look at that billboard, basically, is mainly steel. Everything is all tight in between behind the antenna. If we were to shift the antenna in behind there, it would be blocked by steel members, whatever the material that the canvas of the material is made of. And so that would kind of make it a lot difficult for us to kind of shift everything behind and really not have any sort of interference with the signal. So,
Just hypothetically.
yeah.
If it were, rather than sticking out the sides, if it were sticking up the top, would it be something that was easier to conceal in some way?
If it was sticking up the top, that would be additional, 6 feet or so above the top of the antenna to get that clear view. It's possible to build an additional 6 feet on top of that to do it, but it was additional wind area, 6, So, if that's what you were saying, like putting the antenna above.
I don't, yeah. I was
Okay.
just asking. I can't tell the height of this. I don't know what the dimensions of the billboard,
Yep.
and I don't know what the dimensions of these antennas that stick out the sides are, but I know they're really bad. And
Can they be brought closer to the edges of the billboard?
So
They can
right now
still-
we've.
Even if they extend outside the.
Yeah.
Can they be brought in?
So that's something we started actually researching with our RF engineers to see if, so typically, like with the antennas, if you look at this antenna right now, the one that's like really of major concern, which is actually hanging over the building, that's the one that we looked at. And so if you look at the antennas, they're kind of like in the same plane. If you look at the other antennas, they're kind of skewed. So when they're kind of skewed like that, we need to maintain at least 2 feet just for the beam. So right now we're researching with the RF engineer at T-Mobile to see if there's possibility of us being able to maybe bring those two that are towards, I think that's Westchester Pike, right? A little bit closer. So we're waiting to hear back from them on that to at least get it, a little bit closer to the building.
Okay. Right. So our next hearing is in 2 weeks. Is that enough time for you to get all this done?
We're not sure, but we'd like for you to please leave that open as a possibility. We'll try to get the information together. How quickly would you need the packets of new site plans and stuff in order for us to be able to be put on the agenda for the April 21st meeting? We'd like to try. I mean, if we couldn't get everything done, we could ask for an additional postponement.
All right, Cal, what's our agenda for the 21st? Now that your case has commenced, I scheduled the date, not Cal. So, So you would need it by the 12th to distribute to everybody? Yeah, it's by the 12th.
Okay, well, we'll do our best.
So you'd like me to schedule it for the 21st, and then you'll have to request a continuance at that point.
Right,
Because once you're on the
I
document,
understand.
that's it.
Yes, if you would, that would be helpful.
All right, any other questions or requests? No? All right. Well, with that, we'll continue this case to our April 21st hearing.
Thank you very much.
And don't leave with the original
I
exhibits.
won't. Here's the originals. Thank you.
And we're in recess. All right. With respect to case Z2203, Brian and Tasha Deemer, Jesse, do you feel prepared to vote?
I am.
Bill, are you?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Jessica?
Yes,
Would you like to take that decision, Jessica?
sure. I would vote to deny the application.
Ed?
Which one we on?
We are on Z2203 Lorraine Street.
Lorraine. I concur.
Bill?
I agree.
Jesse?
I agree.
I'll abstain. Case Z2204, Joseph and Tiffany Burnett, owners of 1701 Tyson. Jesse, do you feel prepared to vote?
I'm ready to vote.
Bill?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Jessica?
Yes,
Bill, would you please take that decision?
Sure. With respect to application Z 22-04, I would vote to deny the requested variance.
Jesse?
I disagree. I would have approved it with conditions.
Ed?
I disagree as well. I would have voted with conditions.
Jessica?
I agree with the motion to deny.
And as do I. That case is denied 3-2. Any other business? All right, we're adjourned.
Very good.